Hello, everyone. This is Sherry Greenhouse, Managing Partner of CRM Exchange, and I am here with Vicki Harrell, Executive Director of QATC, and we would like to welcome you to the virtual conference of 2023, and we are very excited for these sessions. And as Brandon said, racers, start your engine. So we are off. So let me introduce Nate Brown, co-founder of CX Accelerator. And many of you probably know Nate. Nate is the snappiest dresser that I know, always an amazing hat. And
Cheers.
he has that, I think it's orange or red and purple, brown. And that purple's my favorite color. So I'm just love to watch you on that. You may know CX Accelerator. It's a virtual community for CX professionals. And he's been in customer service and been an expert in how many years would you say, Nate?
Been a hot minute. I would say 15 since I was selling postage meters on the streets of Jacksonville, Florida.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, he's an expert in CX and he's in marketing and sales and likes to look at the big picture and solve those problems. And he will, he can look at journey mapping and where's the journey of your customers and how do you manage a complex contact center? And he's always sharing within the community and we're really happy to have him. So Vicki and I are going to turn off our cameras now and turn this over to Nate.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Sherry, and happy birthday to Vicki. We had a wonderful time out at QATC with Vicki, so that is really fun. And hey, everybody, thank you, Jessica and Shalandea. Appreciate the hat love. Got us a Halloween hat for this year. If you're going to be something fun for Halloween, definitely put that in the chat. Would love to hear what that is, or maybe one of your kiddos that you're getting dressed up. Would love to see what those costumes are going to be. But welcome. Thank you for taking the time this morning to invest in yourselves and to learn about something very, very, very important for us as customer experience professionals. I know we got a lot of data and quality folks on the line. It is my hope, it is my goal this morning that we're going to push you, we're going to challenge you a little bit. For those that are fans of the Circle of Psychological Safety, level 4 of that is that of Challenger. And we want to have dots that we can connect and help the organization to connect to amplify big picture CX. It's really easy for us to get stuck in a little bit of a rut sometimes, or just to kind of get in our little box, which it's a critical box. It's so important, this work that we do in the service center in the areas of quality and data. But when we can do our jobs even better when we can see a bigger picture and bring these things in. And it's voice of customer that helps us to do that better than anything else. So that term VoC Engine, so that comes from Jean Bliss and her brilliant work, Chief Customer Officer 2.0. And I love that metaphor. There's no finish line to the work of CX, right? I mean, this is ongoing. Our customers are always changing. Our business is always evolving. But there is a starting line for this car that we're in. And it's this VoC capability, our voice of customer capability, and the feel that we're putting in for this journey is right here. It's this great data that we get to collect from our customer interactions. So let's improve the quality and the quantity of that fuel so that we can accelerate this engine forward on behalf of the customers that we get to serve. Let's drive right into it. Awesome. Awesome. Love that, Andrea. Good to see you. Hey, good to see you, Andrea. Always love getting to interact with you. All right, so yeah, I'm somebody who has become recently addicted to pickleball, and I won't bore you with that. But there is a big CX tie-in just in terms of community cultivation and the capabilities there. But just somebody who's really curious about this work. It's changing. It's changing fast, right? I mean, you feel that in terms of the ways that we're engaging with our customers. Our customers themselves are changing significantly. We're in the midst of this epidemic of loneliness right now, and we have all this new psychology that's forming in this post-COVID world, and we have to establish even deeper, better connections with customers to earn loyalty, and we have to do it in new ways. So this work is ever changing, and it's so exciting. Love that there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle that's about to hit the streets. That's awesome. So My journey in this area, I was working inside of UL, great organization, safety science company, helping to make the world a safer place. That was ultimately the mission of UL. But found as I was managing a customer service center inside a division of UL, we were struggling to get smarter in our customer interactions. We kind of had a bit of a reactive mentality going on in the sense of let's resolve this ticket and move on with our lives. And that ticket resolution mentality got a little bit addicting and our metrics reinforced that. But we all know that there's really two layers to these customer interactions. There's the problem to be solved, but then there's the lesson to be learned. There's the emotional impact that has happened there as well. And there's the ability for us to engage and further our partnership with that customer. I love Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, and it talks about how the customer is the hero of the story. So then what do we get to be? We get to be a guide on this journey that proactively brings the customer to their definition of success. And it's the customer service worker that gets to amplify that again and again in all of these exciting interactions. And embracing that role and that psychology of guide can be very good and powerful. But it's not just about getting the customer there and dropping them off. It's about learning inside that journey so that as we guide the next customer, we can be better and smarter together, which is why I love things like KCS, knowledge-centered service, which is that philosophy and that methodology where we all get smarter and we bring that knowledge back into a centralized knowledge hub that enhances those next customer interactions. But it's that voice of customer layer that we're really going to focus on today. And so what we did at UL to kind of break down that mentality and embrace our customer service workers in terms of their role and responsibility to amplify and capture the voice of the customer. We connected it physically with this little USB web key button, and it flashed. I got flashing ones, and we had them plugged in to their desktops, and ultimately as they would navigate their day and they would learn from a customer service interaction if they got meaningful feedback. And that's good or bad, they would just hit this button and it would take them to this ultra simplified little form within our CRM. And they would just capture, hey, what's going on with this customer? How does this customer feel right now? That organic sentiment. And what can we do to make this partnership even better? Capturing that type of information. And it really got that agent excited to click their flashing button. When we connect the mind, we want to change the mindset, but in order to do that, sometimes connecting it to the physical can make that better and faster to help that mindset change to happen. But it was just slightly gamified to the point where it was fun and it was exciting. But what we did that was even more powerful is as we captured all this great information that we were learning in these customer service interactions, we would leverage these customer service workers to bring it to the next layer in terms of, let's learn from this stuff together. Let's get curious about what we're learning and let's present up to the organization on ways we can reduce friction upstream in the journey, which is the superpower of our customer service environment. Sometimes we forget how much we can push up and educate and reduce friction in areas that don't necessarily belong to us. And using our customer service workers to do that is so intrinsically motivating. It's awesome when we tap into that superpower. So as we underwent that process, I became addicted with the power of voice of customer and the implications that were there in terms of our ability to accelerate the customer experience transformation. And I found this quote. So changing the mindset of the organization and collectively adapting to delivering the desired experience. Those are the two things that CX strategy depends on. So we're trying to change the mindset, the way people think about our customers and each other and think about the organization. And we're trying to adapt together towards the desired customer experience. Now, if we don't know what the desired customer experience looks like for us, like really have that defined, because it should actually look different for every organization, then what are we adapting to? What are we changing the organization towards? If we're just giving loose lip service to the idea of good customer experience, but we're not actually defining that, we're a little bit dead in the water. So there's an exercise that I enjoy doing. It's going through and it's defining what that looks like, the attributes of a good guide. Specifically, what does great CX look like for our customers so that we can get them there faster, better, funner, more consistently, whatever that looks like for your brand and your personality and the type of interactions that you have with your customers. What does it look like for you to be a great guide? Then how can we collectively adapt the organization's mindset? And voice of customer is what helps us to do that. So I love throwing this slide in here because anytime we talk about a change management methodology, leading change keeps coming up for me. So what we're talking about for you is doing an even better job in this area of voice of customer. So we're talking about a change and we have to manage that change effectively. So what do we do to make a change stick? Well, first we got to establish a sense of urgency. We got to light a bit of a fire here. For me, it was that realization of all this great customer service information is going into the void. All I'm doing is resolving tickets and we're not learning from every customer interaction. So much of this is being wasted, and was able to develop urgency around that for my team and the leaders of our organization. We've got to capture this better so that we can understand and innovate better and co-create with our customers better. Then it's about not doing it in a silo. And I'm going to say this many times in many different ways, but this is not a journey that you do alone. Even if you have a good size scope inside your team, this is something where you're bringing people together in the form of a CX change coalition, or as John Coder would call it, just a change coalition in his leading change model. And then ultimately we get to remove barriers to this change management transformation that we're undergoing. So be thinking about, okay, so yeah, I'm getting amped up about how we could do voice of customer even better. What's the match for me to light the fire in my organization for this? And already be thinking about what's the stakeholders I can pull in that represent this larger customer journey that can help us to go through this VoC evolution. So who would own this? Like who would be the people who would represent this larger customer journey? And this is a critical question to answer. Because one of the things that I've seen that's dangerous is that VoC programs can get hijacked by a certain part of the business, and they can do it in a way that's not above reproach. And I'm going to use the example of a product team that I've seen before, where they've already got a feature set that they want to release associated with a product, and part of their process, their formula, is to validate the path with voice of customer feedback. And they do it in such a check the box way. They do it in a box, and they get just enough, just the right type, and they guide it. They kind of bias it to be able to exist, to perpetuate the existing path they were already on. And that's not doing voice of customer. That's doing something completely different. And there's not much integrity to that process. Now, marketing has some other bad habits in terms of the way that they can do VoC and do it in a bit of a vacuum, and in a historical sense, get really addicted to things like NPS and some things that don't really illuminate that larger customer journey and how we can specifically be a better guide, but give the illusion that we're doing voice of customer when we're really not doing it as well as we could, should, would. And I could go on. Customer service certainly has its bad habits that have been developed over the years, where we can do this very much in a box and just think about the customer service interaction and not even try to learn about what's going on with this customer on a macro level. Not think about things like ease of business and customer effort score and customer engagement and overall usage, and how we can guide this customer to a better place long term beyond this customer service interaction. So in other words, being a little bit selfish with the way we treat that interaction and the information that we're collecting there. So what we want to do, we want to span across the larger customer journey with the way that we do voice of customer. We want to be able to interpret it through the lens of the customer. We don't want to do VoC through the lens that we always see ourselves. Department. Who's screwing up? CYA type of mentality and approach, And instead, we want to be able to represent and see the actual customer journey with integrity, with authenticity, and fish on the dish. Just put it out there. No, VoC is not convenient. It is often very messy. A lot of times it doesn't make sense. But only then, through that tension and through that wrestling, are you actually getting smarter as an organization. If you're just going through the motions of VoC and checking boxes in different departments, you don't have a finely tuned engine there. Your car's going nowhere. You're not learning. You're not growing alongside your customers. You're just check in the box. Versus if we have that courage to really put the customer in the driver's seat of this VoC representation, some tough stuff and some good things will ultimately come out of that for organizations that have the courage to do it in that way. Please don't hesitate to jump in the chat here with any additional questions. Looks like we have a question if we can answer or get closed captioning going, which would be great if we could do that. We got Marshall from Paw Patrol. What a great show that is. Yeah, and NPS, great things with NPS, but does not tell the whole story, right? And I think that's well known at this point. I mean, we've heard enough thought leadership in this area. But when you embrace the larger NPS 3.0, which is a composite metric that represents all these different areas, even NPS knows that NPS is kind of broken. I mean, it's old enough to have its own driver's license, right? So we've kind of moved on to this modern era of customer psychology. So if we're still back there in the 80s with this and the way that we think and the way we do it, we're missing the boat and we're not accelerating the car forward. So thank you for that, Andrea. Love it. So we're in a new era here when it comes to VoC. I mean, we historically as CX professionals have dictated the paths and the ways that customers give us feedback. And we were in a box, in that, and it was comfortable. We could control it, but our customers moved on without us. And now for most brands, like 80% of meaningful customer feedback is out there in the wild. It's in what we call unstructured areas. And so we have to evolve our VoC engine to be able to collect two types of fuels, unstructured and structured. So structured is where we create the path. We ask the customer for feedback. They give it to us on a vehicle that we control. Whereas unstructured, we got to go get it. It's in a place that we don't control. We can't monitor. We can't change. We can't do much of anything out there other than collect it and learn from it. And there's so much that is out there that we could learn from customers that are having meaningful conversations about our brand if we have that ability to be and to listen where our customers are talking. So again, it's like 80% of that meaningful feedback is out there. So it requires us to now centralize all these data types from all these different areas across the larger customer journey, not doing it in a departmental approach. We need to have a unified, centralized voice of customer engine. Now, this is tough and it can be expensive because, that does imply the need for a customer experience management platform. That's the easy way to do this, right? I mean, there's great technology out there that helps to make this easy, but it can, and I've seen it be done in organizations without the luxury of having that particular piece of technology, but the psychology is there and they put in the work to bring all these insights together into one place and to do it with integrity together through the CX Change Coalition. I'll use Brad Cleveland gave me a great example. I mean, just to keep it simple and peppy, right? I mean, kind of like the buttons where we got started in that, there's a restaurant in Southern California and their whole VoC program is 3x5 note cards. Their whole staff would walk around all day, and as they interact with guests and as they got smarter about the guest experience, they would just jot down quick notes. And at the end of the day, they would celebrate the stuff that went really well that they learned the day before and embrace that great evolution. And they'd learn from the things that could be even better the next day. Their entire VoC program was 3x5 note cards. But that's the mindset of doing it together, centralizing it together. However, we want to amplify that methodology into the technology, that's what we do. But there's so many great things that happen. It prevents us from the firefighting mode. It's a good defense for us because we can see what are the real priorities that the customers have and who is it really going to impact here and how deeply, being able to quantify the true impact of the things that we learn through that larger VoC engine. That way we're not chasing the little one-off things that aren't going to have much value either for a quantity of customers or with any real depth. Gives us that offense too. We can illuminate the real friction points, not the ones that exist in our silo, our department, but the ones that the customer is seeing. And when we go beyond the structured traditional paths of surveys and customer advisory boards and other things and start to fill in those gaps with the unstructured data, things really come to life and we start to see the reality of those friction pockets for what they are. Then we've got the special teams. We start to co-create with our customers in these exciting new ways and innovate in ways that we could have never thought possible. But it really, I mean, it anchors the whole thing. It keeps the integrity in the process and prevents any one department or area from running away with VOC and doing in a way that's really going to be selfish for their own needs. Does your company have, yeah, great question. Do you have a centralized repository for VOC? Would love some insight there. If folks have gotten to that point yet, or if you have plans there, would love for you to answer that. Oh, hey, Dr. Deborah, who just won WFM Leader of the Year at ICMI. Congratulations to you. Real service, VOC, and CX requires stepping away from the old narrative in favor of the naked truth. Holy cow, that's even stronger than fish on the dish. I love it, Dr. Deborah. You certainly have a way with words. Took some great sayings from you last week. But really what we're trying to do is just enhance the quality and quantity of the data that we're getting across the entire customer journey. So we want to do that in a way that's very holistic. So now let's kind of think about how we can start mapping the experience. So, that's kind of the ace in the sleeve of the VOC professional or the CX professional, right? It's like, okay, we're getting this data. Let's start to map it. Well, I'm going to pause you there because there's some great things that we can do with that customer journey map if we're keeping the right frame of mind in focus. But a lot of times it becomes just an exercise in futility and a map to nowhere, like a complete dead end. So why are we ultimately doing this? I mean, most of the time what we jump in and do is a hypothesis map because we've not developed the VoC engine yet. So we do the whole sticky note thing where we're slapping sticky notes up on the wall and, hey, what is the customer experience here? And do you know anything about this? And what's that about? And is there friction here? I don't really know. It's that whole hypothesis, just asking questions. Now, I'm not going to poo-poo that too hard because there's one really cool thing that does for the group of people in that room putting sticky notes on the wall. It's forcing them to think like a customer. And the tension and the hardship of that can be really good and really illuminating because, I mean, we can be very selfish people. Departmentally, personally, whenever we're putting ourselves in the mindset of another human being, it's generally evolving our own perspective in a good and healthy way. But what we want to get to is a true data-driven view of the actual customer journey. We've got it all. The naked truth is there. Now we're just representing the map to the organization. It's not going to be clean. It's not necessarily going to be convenient. It's meant to be something that somebody has to stop and pause and think through and understand. What is my relationship to this? Where do I fit into this? How do I help this customer to get all the way over here? And wrestling through that is really where the education comes to be. So what that starts in terms of the mapping of that process is having really good personas. And this is an example of one that we built for a huge mobile game that you would know the name of. And it was working through and understanding, what are these players looking to achieve? What do they want in their gaming experience? For Lady Pie, she was actually looking for community. She wasn't looking to conquest and destroy and to be the wealthiest. She was looking for more of the allegiance, the alliance type of community that she was looking to foster inside of the game. So being able to communicate to her differently, understanding her objective in the game and wrapping her experience around even her customer service interactions in a different way would greatly amplify her capabilities within the game to accomplish her objective. So that's in the gaming space, but that same mentality applies anywhere where we're thinking about, okay, so if we're going to map a customer journey, we're not using our marketing buyer personas here. We're using the people that are actually utilizing the product and service and thinking about what are they trying to achieve. Again, they're the hero of the story. We're the guide. So if you're going to be a good guide, you should have some maps that illuminate the customer's journey and the different types of customers that you have. The objectives that they have and the destination they're trying to get to so that you can, in fact, be an effective guide. So think about what these personas would look like for you that you're collecting VOC upon. That would be step one. Step two, leading up to step three, which would be a true customer journey map, would be thinking through our voice of customer engine. I call it a listening path map. And it's a great precursor to the journey map. And here's why. You're actually listing out. So we have Wendy in this case. She has a clear objective. She's our persona. And I've thought through, okay, here's the different major touch points that Wendy has with us. I'm not doing it through our department lens. I'm doing it through Wendy's lens. And I'm listing out the different VoC touch points, the listening posts, to use another Gene Bliss term, that we have available in these different areas. And I'm color coding them based on structured and unstructured. And I guarantee you that if you went and did this process inside of your organization, you would find gaps in your voice of customer engine process. You would see that there are areas, critical touch points that you have with the customer where you're not in a place to learn from them. And you should be looking and assessing. I mean, you can already see right here, wow, there's only two that I have in the teal color, which in this case represents unstructured feedback. I've got to find a better way to capture more unstructured feedback. There's gaps here in this listening engine. So that would be the challenge to you. Use the data that you've got and start to build this out, and then think about, wow, what data do we need? Does it already exist in the organization? How can we bring it together into more of a centralized voice of customer engine? If we don't have it, if it doesn't exist, then we get to be challengers. And we get to ask this organization how we can listen better to our customers in these areas. So it's a very exciting and illuminating process. So this would be kind of an enhanced, an example from UL. Thinking about the different listening paths that I have available in these different areas, what really matters ultimately to the customer in this area. And even representing that in the form of a key loyalty metric here within service. Like in the service interaction, what really could matter, it could be ease of business versus the customer support interaction. So when I say services, I'm talking about like implementation and things like that. Versus in support, we're really looking at that specific customer effort score. And then ultimately inside the product itself, what really matters is system usability scale. So thinking through, okay, what really matters here, and how do we know? How can we listen to our customers in this area to understand what their journey looks like? Great, Lisa. Love that. That's helpful. Good case study. Yes, thank you, Jessica. So I mean, several challenges here that are unfolding. Again, you're probably like, oh, this is so big. I'm not telling you to go do this yourself. I'm saying that you get to be a challenger inside your organization, equipped with this best practice around VoC that probably other people in your organization don't know about this. They're probably not going out and equipping themselves in the area of voice of customer science, but you are. So even if you only represent a little piece of the customer journey, you get to bring people around you and do this together in an even better way, which is so exciting. So let's look at an example of like an actual customer journey map. And this is what we'd want to get to, is something kind of like this, where we have our great persona locked in. We know what matters to her. We know what the definition looks like of success for Rachel in this case. And we're mapping out what matters to her in each part of this journey. And we're looking at the needs and expectations that she has, and then the pain points. And what will happen is if you look closer at it, the needs and expectations become friction points downstream in the journey. And that's the type of thing that we're looking to illuminate here, is where can we work together to break our siloed approach and upstream work together to enhance the overall customer experience, so that friction isn't waiting for us down here in a place where we have very little control over it. But the organization is embracing this larger view of the customer experience, which is so good and helpful. So that's just an example. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it, but it's got that summary level visual. You're isolating specific pain points, which is really good. You've got specific customer journeys. You're not trying to ram everything together for the convenience of your executives. And what executives will often try to do is to force it through the lens that they're already thinking of, because it makes sense to them. They just want a clean visual that's basically an internal process map. That's so often what they ask for, when what they really need is the inconvenient truth of the actual customer journey. You can go make an internal process map and represent, here's these departments, and here's how things flow through, and here's where the customer interacts over this channel here. You can create all that, but don't call it a customer journey map when it's not the customer data being represented and capturing the friction that's there and the opportunities that you have together to enhance your overall customer experience objective. Love it. This is great. My question was going to be, what does this actually look like? Great. Yeah, we could dig into that deeper, Andrea, offline, of course, as you think how to apply it. So helpful to demystify this topic with a clear step-by-step approach. Awesome. Very, very good. So that was kind of a 1, 2, 3 approach. So it starts with the personas, helping to understand those. Then that listening path map. What is the structured and unstructured listening post that we have today? Then getting to represent that maybe in kind of a map format, if you think that would be the right vehicle for customer education for you. So as we think about the other core element here around voice of customer science, what we're doing is we're pushing the organization to understand the real value of enhancing the lives of our customers. What does that do for the organization when we treat our customers really well? Because quite frankly, that's under fire right now. There's been a lot of data from Forrester and from other analysts talking about how CX in general is potentially kind of a passing fad here because executives have tried it. It didn't stick like none of us thought it would. It didn't show the clear ROI. So people are kind of moving on from the idea and from the words of customer experience. That's a little terrifying and dangerous. And I'm not too worried because it would just morph to some other form of customer centricity. And the leading thing that's kind of morphing and evolving is customer success. So maybe you've heard of customer success and you might even have dismissed it because it's sales and marketing focused. Yes, it is, but it's bigger than that. The idea around customer success is simply maximizing customer value. And the fact that customer success as a field has worked so hard to separate itself from CX says a lot about how the CX world largely has kind of missed the mark. And as customer success has come up, they really want to identify differently from that as a new and capable field. But so yeah, that's frustrating and things. There's a lot we could unpack there together, but let's learn from what's going on around customer success and what they're doing. Look at that one in the middle, customer health score. So they're looking at their ability to engage customers on every stage of the customer journey. And they're representing that in really meaningful ways. So it could be some form of usage. It could be some form of involvement with the brand. It could be some more obvious form of, yeah, they're spending money with us every month and it's clear and it's obvious. But being able to really show is value being generated on every stage of the customer journey and representing that in the form of this complicated, wonderful composite metric called a customer health score or customer engagement score you'll hear. I mean, it's taken everything to the next level for us as CX professionals. I mean, that's really the thing that we should be helping to lead and to guide and doing it from far more than just a sales and marketing lens, because this is big customer journey stuff. This is maximizing overall customer value. So we've got a lot to learn from that. So it started in the SaaS space, so technology software, but now it's extending into more technology, into gaming, into other areas. And it's like, wow, this customer success thing has some wheels, but we can only do it if our voice of customer engine is very sophisticated, very capable of measuring health and engagement across these different areas of the customer journey. So it's a little scary, but it's also very exciting. What we have in front of us in terms of the opportunity. Customer sentiment is another one. That's just amazing how effectively we can go out and grab this, whether it's structured or unstructured, whether it's a phone call that we've recorded or a text-based interaction, sometimes even just a conversation. Bringing that in these different forms and formats. I mean, this would be an example of a way that we were actually capturing customer sentiment. As we were capturing that and getting the text-based responses in there, we could put that into a good customer experience management platform, and it could take that text and automate the format of the customer sentiment there and give us that across these different areas of the customer journey and inputting that in so many different ways across different areas of that customer journey as well. So it's good and exciting to see these metrics catching up with the needs that we have. To be able to understand how are we maximizing customer value across every stage of the journey here. If sentiment is really low, then something's amiss. It doesn't mean that you're going to solve all your problems in this one area, but it's a little bit of smoke, and you can find the fire in there. But what happens so often, the fire doesn't match up with one problem or one department, one leader. And that's where organizations get so stuck. It's inconvenient to put the fire out because it spans multiple areas of the organization. And it's not one leader that can just go fix it. So when we do these things together and we're all looking at the same voice of customer engine and we all have a desire to solve the friction points in there, that collaboration goes off the charts. Awesome. Okay, let's move forth. So this is harkening back. I will admit Sherry's going to punch me, but I made this slide this morning. I put it in here because I'm just thinking about, we did this a lot in the gaming space. So there's really two macro goals here, right? I mean, we want to connect the employees to the customer in meaningful ways. That's one. We're intrinsically motivating them to adjust their mentality to care and understand how they can improve the customer journey, like how they can do that as an individual inside of this larger format of the organization. But then two, leveraging these insights to help the organization to accomplish its mission better and more consistently. We're showing the ROI of the work. So these are the two things that our voice of customer capability should help to do for us. We're motivating people intrinsically, and we're helping the organization understand truly how it can be better. So we got to make these correlations. We're finding these correlations between, in our case, I'm going to go back to kind of a customer service focused lens for a second. So we have the idea of how can we show what a great customer service interaction does to long-term customer behavior. And in the case of the gaming example, Lady Pie, we could see if we communicated with her differently in a customer service interaction, if we demonstrated we know her persona and what she actually cares about in the game, she's looking for community, because what we would generally do is just throw money, just throw generic compensation at somebody who has an issue. Oh, we're sorry. We're going to make this problem go away by just throwing money at you. No, we're going to listen to you and we're going to amplify your ability to connect with meaningful community in the game. And what that did to these MVP players long term was just awesome. Just awesome what we can do there by truly understanding the nature of what these players wanted to achieve and guiding them there more effectively. So think about that for you. What will be the correlator of, like, we can show this is a great customer service interaction. We know that because, like, what does that look like? If that's ease of business, customer effort score, CSAT, whatever that is. And what can we show in terms of what that does to the customer next week, the week after, with their share of wallet, their value, their representation of value back to the business, their renewal retention rate, whatever that looks like. We have to make those correlations. So happy to help people to do that. But like that's where the work needs to move. Sometimes we don't even challenge ourselves to do it. Yeah, it's hard. It takes time. And sometimes those correlations, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be perfect. But we have to be able to show, hey, we are seeing a trend here. When we do this in our customer service interactions, it represents this value long-term for the customer. That's how you earn the right to grow this work and to continue to improve your voice of customer engine. So let's talk quickly about how to make it stick. Sherry, will you put in chat when I'm done? I'm sorry, I forgot to do the math in my head. I want to make sure I land this plane at the appropriate time. So again, using VoC to motivate. Too often we use VoC as a whip cracker, and we're just telling the organization, hey, you're missing the mark. You're doing a bad job here. We're still not where we need to be here. This department's really stinking. Just friction. Now, yes, that's important. And we're doing that in a good, kind way. But like the majority of what we're doing around our VoC insights should be telling people how great they're doing and showing them, be able to actually show them the difference that their work is making. Where else are you going to get that? It's not going to come from your annual performance appraisal. It's going to come from the impact that you're making on the lives of your customers. So it's another dot that we get to connect, another correlation we get to make. The work that we do and the lives that we change through that ultimately down the road, and bringing that back into the heart and mind of the employee. So, I mean, what are the ways to connect the dots there? I've covered that exhaustively, so I will not do that again. But one way, I mean, we use one of these journey maps, and instead of just sending out a journey map and saying, hey, here's some new voice of customer data, it was like, hey, we've just collected a whole new galaxy in our portfolio of understanding. would you join us as we navigate this new star system and understand this customer better? And they would literally hit this button and it would take them into this cool graphic map type thing. So it was gamifying. It was generating curiosity around voice of customer insights. Another fun one that we did. So, and this is kind of connecting a few different things that we've talked about, but I found that the employees in one case where I've worked in the past really were hating on this one new product that we had coming out. And you all know what that does to customer sentiment. If the customer's smart, they can feel when the employees don't actually like something or care about something, and they're not going to like it either. That's going to come right through to the customer experience. So I did. I went through a whole voice of customer collection process, and I was absolutely finding there was just great confusion around the capabilities of this thing and what it should be doing. And it's almost like people didn't know if they should like it or not. There's like that curiosity around what's going on here. Should I like this or not? And so I was like, why do the employees not like this thing? So I'm having conversations with people, found they had never logged into this. They had no idea. They didn't know what they were talking about. This whole perception had been birthed of ignorance. So I was like, well, the first process that I need to do here is to eliminate some of this ignorance around this tool. So it was an incident management tool, meaning that an environmental health and safety manager, when something bad would happen in the workplace, an incident would occur, they would need to log that incident to capture that for an OSHA report. So I was like, I'm gonna put these employees in the mindset of our customer. We're gonna make this journey map come to life. And so had a fake wall in our break room, and the Kool-Aid man burst through the wall and broke my arm. An incident occurred. It was captured on security footage, and that security footage, when the employees came into work that day, they had an email with that security footage clip and the challenge, the quest to now have to go in and log this incident appropriately. And when they did that, it was their ticket. They would get this report, and that was their ticket to come into a lunch that we offered, and we showed the voice of customer map for this product. And it changed so much about the internal perception and ultimately the customer's perception. We shot through some of this ignorance. So that was around education, both in the house with our employees and ultimately with our customers, demystifying that question of, should I like this? Yeah. It's accomplishing the objective that we had together. And by crystallizing what that was and the capabilities of this thing to do it, we could embrace it together. But I mean, that's the challenge really there is like bring VoC to life. You know, there's just a couple whimsical examples there, but like this stuff can get really boring. The science around voice of customer can get if we allow it to, it should be really exciting. I mean, we're helping the organization to solve the puzzle. How can we serve our customers better? I mean, that's what we're getting to do here. We're connecting the employees to the customers in meaningful ways. We're helping the organization to get smarter every day through its customer service interactions. How do we make that come to life in a way that represents our unique organization, our personality, our brand voice, the mission that we have? How can we make it come to life for our employees in better service to our customers? And then, you know, that last stage in the John Coder model, let's reduce friction together. And that is a huge thing that the VoC engine gets to do for us. There's friction all over the place. How can we reduce some of it? And this is going to be the way to make that process the most relevant. I've started to do a little thing where I've got an army of friction fighters, or a group of friction fighters that I've identified in different organizations who they're on a quest to ultimately take this VoC data and help make it come to life for their peers. And so we've made it even a little credo. Like I will fight friction in my customer interactions by curating knowledge better, or by making things more available. I'm going to do that for me. I'm going to do that on behalf of my peers. I'm also going to hold my peers accountable and challenge them to do the same. You know, little things like that, kind of like this mini credo of this friction fighting force would undergo. And, you know, something like that can be very inclusive in mobilizing things like customer service workers to be able to be strategic in this process of making voice of customer come to life. So would love, oh yeah, that Kool-Aid man, that's one way. But any questions, any thoughts that folks have, would love to hear them.
Yeah, any questions, just put them in the chat. When you were talking, Nate, about, CX, it was almost like they tried it. They didn't think it would work. And it reminds me, so every Saturday and Sunday, I take my dog to the dog park. And there's like 8 of us that meet every Saturday and Sunday. And they can't wait for me to get there to tell me about their horrible customer service experience, which they never do. So to a person, they have another horrible story they're telling me about customer service.
Oh.
So it's we all know. Someplace it's not linking. And maybe it's not listening to the customer. Clearly, because there's all these complaints. So I think everybody on here understands that, but how do you relay that?
Yeah.
So upper management understands.
I mean, ultimately, if I were to navigate that with you, Sherry, I mean, I think at the end of the day, do these employees care, and are they capable? Like when we're having a bad service interaction, there's one of two things or both that has failed. They may be capable to help you, but they don't care enough to actually do it. They don't care enough to go deep and do things like next issue resolution to guide you to your definition of success. They're just doing the bare minimum to make you go away. We feel that, and that frustrates us. But then there's other times where you get somebody that wants to do the right thing, and they are prevented. They are held back from doing that because they are not embraced by the right knowledge, tools, and capabilities of the organization to be free to serve. To use that hashtag that Leslie O'Flahaven and Jenny Dempsey used at an I See My conference years ago, free to help. It's like, is the organization free to help, or have we become mired in capability? I mean, the average enterprise organization has 464 custom applications in it. So it's like, whoa, no wonder the agent can't do their job. They're trying to navigate 14 systems just to log a ticket. So we got to simplify that and make it easy for the agent to be the person they want to be towards that customer, to be an effective guide. So, I mean, that would be where it would start to me, Sherry. These bad interactions that your friends are telling you about, it's either a lack of caring or a lack of capability on behalf of the organization or the agent.
I'm wondering for the attendees, do you run into this issue? Do you find that maybe there's a lack of capability or even a lack of being able to get to the right systems that they need? Yeah. So Michael says yes. So and how do we, does this effort require a collab with the CX team, the QA team, the phone service agents manager? Curious how to incorporate some of these changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's that step-by-step approach, right? So, I mean, right now you're assessing the quality of your existing voice of customer engine. I would start with something like that listening path map, just to understand the current state. Because remember, the first thing we want to do in any change management transformation is establish a sense of urgency, or else you're going nowhere. So you have to be able to demonstrate to the leaders of your organization, our VoC engine has holes in it. We're leaking oil in the driveway, and this is why the car's not moving forward. We're not collecting the insights that we need. Maybe it's the unstructured data that's just out there. Maybe you're not being strategic in your customer service interactions like I wasn't at UL. And it's about understanding and be able to really be able to, in a compelling way, show where the gaps are in your voice of customer engine. That to me would be really where this would start. Because then you're developing that sense of urgency and curiosity to your leaders. Okay, so what would it look like if we started to do a better job and enhance the quality and quantity of data that we have coming into this engine? Then you get to start to make the correlations and map to the ROI. Great question.
Deborah has a comment that the third leg is employees not having the authority to fix things they know how to fix. I think that's very true.
So true.
I had an experience with an eyeglass company that was amazing. So
I remember.
Well, no, not that one. That one was horrible. Where just for that company, called me the B word and the C word while I was there with their agents. So that was a whole other experience. But there was another.
Pretty bad.
You're right, Andrea. If you want, I actually blogged about it because I couldn't believe what they were saying, and it was all because the agent didn't know how to put me on hold. Other company.
Yeah.
That 1-800 contact spot called Lingo. The most fabulous experience.
Love it.
Something really quickly online, and you could see what you look like. You could take a picture. They sent it. I wasn't crazy about it. I said, I don't know, they're a little small for me. The
Yeah.
agent went, I'm really sorry to hear that. Here's 5 others that look like that, a little bit bigger.
Ooh, nice.
How do I know? She goes, you know what? Pick 5. We'll send them to you.
Oh,
Call us, tell them which one you like.
love it.
Within 3 days, pick the one I want. I
Mm,
called, I said, oh, I see by your phone number, Sherry, which one do you like? The
that's
whole thing,
fun.
an amazing transaction.
That's
So
awesome.
and I think, and Deborah, you said the agent had the ability to figure out, how am I going to help this customer?
Yeah, no, and a good example that popped in my mind as you were saying that, I'm a photographer and
Mhm.
B&H photography. So it was one of those where I navigated a digital experience and I got one of those pop-ups at some point. It's like, hey, were you able to find everything you were looking for? Maybe I was poking around a little too long. And I actually
Right.
did put a quick comment in there and said, actually, well, no, this kind of led me down a dead end, expecting nothing. Because that's what we generally get, through these voice of customer triggers, is they're just kind of dead ends, right? I got a personalized note back from a product person at B&H, like a website person. It's like, hey,
Mhm.
this was really helpful for us. Let me ask you a couple more questions about this. I was like, are you serious? Yes. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. And I mean, this guy was so helpful, so good, so curious, like so attuned. I mean, what a great example of a voice of customer engine on fire, actually closing the loops with customers, getting everybody involved, not just customer service involved in the fulfillment of VoC. It was awesome to see that.
Yep. And here we are talking to hundreds of people, telling them good experiences in the name of a company. So that's worth a lot.
But
So so you're looking also at, what's that customer value? So where would you fit in? And again, I'm going to give an example. I changed granite in my kitchen.
hmm,
I had 4 companies come in. I liked one company, and the way I pick companies is by price and who my dog likes best when
hmm,
they come in, because I feel like she's
that
got
needs
to
to be a metric.
understand people. She has good judgment. Had this company had a great experience. They were quick, they were clean, they were cleanly, and their price was good. Somebody in my office needed granite. I said, call this company, don't even bother with the other ones. Call the company, they work for them. I was out with neighbors and one person said, I want to change the granite. Call this company. So I referred. Now, because of me, they got business, but where
Yeah,
does that come in that? Because it's not my personal
sure.
value of, these other jobs that they got. So where would you fit that?
Yeah, I mean, businesses are generally pretty mature, these days about understanding where these new customers are coming from. But
Mhm.
somewhere in that process, because I mean, so this is where when that word of mouth is working, like
Mhm.
and it's one of these critical correlators, right? I mean, that's so often that great brand credibility that happens that earns you word of mouth referrals. That's one of those areas that we got to tie back to customer service.
Right.
Marketing loves to just kind of take that data and boosh and it's gone. But like, let's interview some of these folks that said word of mouth. Let's figure out what's going on. Oh, I had this amazing customer service interaction here, blah, blah, blah. Get some idea of like what percentage of those word of mouth referrals are coming to you because of great customer service interactions. Because there should be some organizational credibility that's coming from that.
Yeah. There's a conversation about IVRs. The IVR, let's see, the first one, let me get, um, it was like, well, in essence, it was the IVRs, they're more strategically to stop you from going.
Yeah, right?
Um, yeah. And more and more companies are adding things to the IVR to reduce calls going to live agents, and it's changing experience for the customer. At least I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Uh, IVR needs to be strategically designed to optimize CX and agent experience, not hinder. And it looks like because of the economy, companies, and you do understand this at a level, are trying to maximize costs and optimize where they're doing costs.
sure.
And I, how can I, how can this one call, how can this one issue
Hmm.
cost me less? So they're trying to do it through IVR, through chat, through different things. But what I think they're missing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that makes maybe you calling back again and you're aggravated and it's not making anything better.
Oh yeah. No, if we're putting up friction and hurdles to, I mean, it's being a good guide. It's going back to that metaphor. The customers that hear this, let's guide the customer proactively to where they're trying to go. So when we put up giant impediments on their journey, we're not being a good guide. So
Mhm.
I mean, there's a classic resource around this. It's Effortless Experience by Matt Dixon and the Corporate Executive Board. Look at Appendix A for those that are figuring out this IVR stuff. It's guiding customers to the best resolution path. Talking about fitting well into that story brand metaphor around guide. They literally use the word guide customers to the best resolution path. So that's what we're trying to do. If this is something where, wow, they need to be able to resolve this themselves. Like that would be the best experience for them. Then make that so frictionless and easy for them to be able to do. If we're figuring out, wow, this is the type of thing where they're just going to have to interface with somebody to get that confidence level that they need to be able to move forward, then let's make that easy for them to be able to do that. It's going to ultimately save us money, and it's going to save the customer so much heartache. So yeah, Appendix A, Effortless Experience, that will revolutionize your philosophy around IVR.
And Jessica says a robust knowledge management system and internal efficiencies can do so much more for cost saving than a black hole IVR plus not risk losing customer revenue from a poor experience. I agree.
Let's tweet that.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you. Let's see, Nate, we have 1 minute. What would you like to say in your last minute?
Okay. Dr. Deborah can go ahead and roll her eyes because she's already heard this. So I really feel like CX leaders are community builders, more than anything. So we've got these lonely, frustrated people that are out there dealing with so much garbage. And so we as CX leaders, I think we have a natural gift set and these capabilities to bring some harmony to this stuff and to establish meaningful connections between people. So it's so exciting to me. This work has never been more important, in my opinion. What you're doing is quality folks, data analysts out there. If you're in the CX world here, then you are looking to establish meaningful connections with people. So take pride in that. Generate curiosity around that, not just for yourself, but for others. And go back and refresh yourself on that circle of psychological safety. And I want you to look at level 4, challenger. Be that and produce that around you with your peers. And you will do things that you've never dreamed in the area of CX and beyond. So that would be my use of that minute.
Thank you, Nate, for a great keynote. Thank you, everyone that chatted with us today. And at 2:00 Eastern, we have a webinar, Quality Program Mastery. So if you have not yet signed up for that, you can go back and sign in, and we will see you at 2:00. Right now, we're closing this webinar down. The recording will be up in about 24 hours. We'll try to get it in the morning for you as soon as we can. And remember to go to the exhibit hall and look at the different booths and download information from there. Thank you so much, Nate. That was great. You're getting lots of well dones.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great Halloween.
So we're
Appreciate
good.
you all.
All right. Thank you.